Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Success Thursday, and this week we have with us once more Mark Metze. Hi Mark, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me, Vasco.
Absolutely. So Mark, on Thursdays we talk success for Scrum Masters, and of course we want to dive into what that means for you. But before we do that, we always ask, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
So the one that I'm going to pick is called the ORID pattern, and it's an acronym, O-R-I-D. The O stands for observe, R for reflect, I for inspect, and the D for decide. And so I'll tell you why I like this one, is because most of the time during our retrospectives, sometimes we have a habit of just jumping right in and asking the team, what went well, what didn't go well, where do we want to improve? And what I like about the ORID format is we first pause to observe and say, what are the facts about the sprint? If you have metrics, this is a great time to bring those metrics that the team may agree on that are indicators of a healthy sprint or unhealthy. And so they're really just the facts about the sprint. You think about it in a sports game, maybe in basketball, because that was what I played when I was growing up. You think about it halftime, and you may have some thoughts about how the first half went, but when you look at the stats, you start thinking of, well, how many free throws did the other team shoot? How many fast break points did they have? How many fouls did we issue? Those are things that you can't argue about because they're facts. So that gives you a level of understanding that you might not have normally if you just jump ahead. The next step of R for reflect really allows you to be able to get those emotions and really be able to express them so that you can think clearly. So maybe those facts made you disappointed. Maybe they made you joyful. It gives you a chance to express those so they don't cloud your judgment. And then you move to the third step of inspect, and that's where we go through any number of steps, any number of formats to try to see where do we need to improve or what went well, what didn't go well. So if you see the pattern here, we're able to look at the facts, get our feelings out of the way. Now we're able to see, okay, what does this data mean? And then the last step to decide, that's where our retro actions come in. So I've really found that to be useful to allow the team to have those 4 steps and really be able to work towards meaningful retro actions.
Yeah, so definitely all of the patterns or mnemonics that helps us follow what is understood to be a good retrospective pattern, right? So you talk about 4 phases, and in the Agile Retrospectives book, they talk about 5 phases. But the idea is that we understand the structure and we put it in place, right? So another cool thing with this is that you can actually put together facilitation techniques for each of those 4 and kind of chain them together so that they make sense, right? So I think that's great. And of course, ORID pattern being one, so I'll put the link on the show notes, and I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff out there about other patterns. I'll try to collect some so that people can go and look at the different things, and everyone will find one that kind of jives with them. And for me, what's important as a Scrum Master is to have some mnemonic, some kind of a cheat sheet, effectively, that helps us to really keep in mind that there's these aspects that we need to cover. And in this particular one, observe, reflect, inspect, and decide being those things that we need to cover. Now we turn our attention to I would call it the purpose of the Scrum Master role, which is to succeed. Of course, nobody wants to be a Scrum Master to fail. We want to succeed. But we want to succeed because we understand that that's how we help teams perform and reach their goals, eventually at the end of the day, when it comes to software, it's teams that create value, not management. And that's very important to recognize, right? And that leads us to reflect on what that success might look like for us. So the question is this week for you, Mark, in your mind, what does success mean for a Scrum Master?
So it's a very interesting question. And it's one that with the role of the Scrum Master, you're not going to necessarily have a checklist that you're going to be able to go over. But I'm going to answer that by saying a professional Scrum trainer told me once that Scrum, when you boil it all down, Scrum is all about getting to done. So in the context of Scrum, you talk about a Scrum Master. A Scrum Master's goal is really to change the mindset of the team so that they fully understand empiricism, and they're working toward creating a done, usable, valuable increment each and every sprint. And it's a real struggle, and it's one that I struggle with and my team struggle with, but we continue to persevere. And I've found some ways that help with this. And if you don't mind me sharing those, Vasco, is that the most successful way I've found in promoting this change is really building a strong relationship and teaming with the product owner that I serve. If we can work together with the product owner, because they're the ones that are really talking with customers and they're understanding what value are we trying to bring. And if you get the product owner and being relentless every sprint about challenging the team and asking the question of what value does this bring to our stakeholders, our customers, our users, what have you, what value does it bring? I understand we have to have a database. I understand that we have to have some logic layer. We need to have some services in place. Those are all great, but what value does it bring to the user? I found that that's very valuable, having not just the Scrum Master trying to institute that change, but allowing the product owner to use their weight, if you will, of working with the stakeholders and with the customers to help turn that ship.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot more about product owner role tomorrow on Friday when we talk about the PO role. But I think that you kind of elicit one aspect that is critical for us to think about and reflect on as Scrum Masters, which is how have I built a relationship with the product owner that I'm serving? Because the product owner and the Scrum Master are actually a very powerful alliance when it works, right? When it works, to help the team reach that state of success, which is to constantly finalize what they start and to deliver value to the customers on a regular basis. And for me, I think the key aspect in my mind is that it's not always about focusing on the team, although that's always in the background, if nothing else. But sometimes it's about asking ourselves, where should I focus to be able to help the team? And you mentioned the product owner. Tomorrow we'll talk about an example of a bad product owner. And the fact is that there are many product owners that are bad, not necessarily because of themselves, but because they've never been helped by a Scrum Master. They've never established that alliance with the Scrum Master in order to be able to perform as a great product owner, which is in the end what we want, right? Because what you said is very true. Like if the product owner role is missing or has a lot of problems, then it's very hard for the team to succeed.
Agree with that.
Absolutely. And a great reflection. Thank you for sharing that with us, Mark.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Thanks, Vasco.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.